I can't control what happens with the scavenger hunt, so I don't have a book that starts with the letter E. Go to page 34, line 6. I'm taking the scavenger hunt into my own hands. Hi everyone, it's me. We're gonna film another reading vlog today, but we're gonna mix things up and we're actually gonna use a scavenger hunt to choose our reads for the entire week. So if you guys don't know what a scavenger hunt is, or a book scavenger hunt, this is something new to me as well, but I just found this online. And basically you get a bunch of prompts that will find you like books on your TBR, and then whichever book you land on, that's the book you read. So let's just head over to my TBR. We'll just like start the scavenger hunt and then things will all start to make sense, I promise. But yeah, welcome to today's video. Let's choose our next read. Okay, here we are. As you guys know, I recently reorganized my entire shelf. So my entire TBR is down here now. So this is gonna make the scavenger hunt a lot easier. Like the fact that I could just like find all my physical TBR in one place is gonna simplify things a lot. So in terms of the prompts, I actually found this scavenger hunt on Storygraph. I don't have a Storygraph, but I just Googled book scavenger hunt and then this list came up on Google. So I'll include the link in the description box below if you guys also want to try the scavenger hunt, but this is by Koala Reader on Storygraph. Thank you to Koala Reader for putting this on Storygraph. I don't know who you are, but I appreciate the work that you do. So this list has 10 prompts. I usually read like 2 to 3 books a week. So I think for my first book, I'm gonna do 4 prompts to start with, and then whatever book we end on after the 4th prompt is the one we're gonna read. So let's just get started. This is gonna be interesting because I definitely have some books that like are higher on my TBR in terms of priority of what I wanna read and what I'm more excited about, but I can't control what happens with the scavenger hunt. So let's just get started. The first prompt is the most recent book added to your TBR. Okay, this one's easy. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, which I'm so excited to read. I had pre-ordered this last year and it actually just arrived yesterday because release date was yesterday. Look how stunning it is. It's got sprayed edges, which I had no idea it was gonna have sprayed edges, and the cover is just stunning. And the inside, like, the end papers are these like pomegranates and it just looks so cool, and I really want to read this. But I don't know if we'll land on this after the 4th prompt. Second prompt, what color was it? Find a book with the complementary color. So this is like black primarily. There's black, there's gold, and there's red. So complementary colors would be white, green, and what's the complementary of gold? Like silver? Maybe I just need to find like a white book, maybe with a bit of green because we do have like the red here. I actually don't have many white books. Okay, I picked this up because the spine is white and green and I thought that fit really well, but now that I'm looking at the front of it, it's definitely more blue. So I don't know if this actually counts, but this is green. It's like a green all over, and there's kind of lighter tones like this. This isn't exactly white, but it's kind of yellow. I don't know, which do we think is more complementary? This definitely isn't, but like this is. I'm gonna say Tress of the Emerald Sea is probably the most complementary colors just because of the red, and like red and green are exactly complementary colors. So I'm just gonna go with Tress of the Emerald Sea. Okay, third prompt is what is the most common letter in your book? Find a book with the title that starts with that letter. How do I even, the most common letter in your book? How do I like do that? I don't understand this one. Okay, maybe I'll just do the most common letter in the title and then I'll pick a title that starts with that letter instead of like looking through the whole book and counting the letters, which I don't know how to do.
So we have 2 T's, we have 2 R's, 4 E's, 3 S's, it's gotta be E. Okay.
I have to find a title that starts with letter E. I feel like that's gonna be hard. I don't have a book that starts with the letter E. I'm gonna look at what the second most common letter is on the title because the E thing, that's got me stuck. Okay, so it's S. I feel like S is gonna be easier. There's 3 S's. Okay, we have Station 11 and we also have Spells for Forgetting. These both start with S. I'm gonna pick Spells for Forgetting just because we like already almost picked Station 11. So I'm just gonna mix things up and pick this one for the 3rd prompt. So the 4th prompt, and this is the one that should decide what book we're gonna read, is go to acknowledgements. What is the first name you C. Find a book written by an author with the same name. Oh, this is gonna be hard. Here are the acknowledgements. What's the first name? Joel? I definitely do not have a book by someone named Joel. Okay, moving on. Ethan, no. Josiah, Finley, River, no. Barbara? Do I have a Barbara? Wow. I feel like I need a TBR of like 300 books to be able to like do this scavenger hunt properly. Shauna, no, I don't have a Shauna. May, Kristin. We have a Kristin. Thank you to my critique partner, Kristin Dwyer. I do in fact have a book written by a Kristin, The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. So this is the book we have ended on our 4th prompt, which means this is the book we will read first. Wow, that was kind of hard. Okay, yeah, we have The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. I forget what this is about actually. I know it's historical fiction because that's what Kristin Hannah does. Let's just take a look. This is set in World War II. Tells the story of 2 sisters separated by years, experience, ideals, passion, and circumstance, and they each embark on their own dangerous path towards survival, love, and freedom in German-occupied, war-torn France. Sounds like this is gonna make me cry. But I love Kristin Hannah, so good pick. Successful scavenger hunt. We'll start reading this one.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane, and as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise.
Someone tell me why. Okay, someone please tell me why I was able to read 304 pages of this yesterday. 304 pages. When I picked up this book, I was like, okay, this is gonna take me a while because first of all, it's historical fiction and I feel like usually don't read historical fiction as quick as I read something like a romance, or fantasies are kind of like give and take depending on how like complex the world is or if I'm familiar with it already. But usually I find historical fiction goes slower just because, you know, things are a little bit more intense, maybe a little bit more like info heavy, like it's history, right? But Kristin Hannah makes historical fiction easy to read. Not easy to read in terms of like you don't feel anything, like it's still really emotional and they're still really like tough emotional stories, you know what I mean? But she writes in a way where like you just fly through like on a regular day. Even if I'm reading like the easiest, quickest little rom-com book, I will usually read like 100 to 200 pages a day, like on a work day. But for some reason, I was able to read literally 300 pages of The Nightingale yesterday. Needless to say, I am quite enjoying this book. It like immediately drew me in. I was immediately caring about the characters. Like somehow Kristin Hannah made me just like care about everyone the second they were introduced onto the page. I think it's also really interesting. So as I mentioned, we are following 2 sisters who were kind of like, they grew up together a little bit, but they were never really close because first of all, they're like, I think they're 10 years apart from each other in terms of age. And then they just have very different ideals and morals. Like they're just very, very different people and they're both reacting to this war in a very, very different way. So it's interesting reading their different point of views, but at the same time, you can like understand where they're both coming from because of like the things they've gone through, how they were like brought up, their different paths that they took. Like they just turned out to be such different people and they care for each other as sisters, but they have like such an interesting dynamic because they're sisters by blood, but they were like never really close, but they know like they're still each other's family. So it's really interesting to read and I feel like both of the sisters, where their story is taking them, they're so different, so it's keeping the book like really interesting. I don't have anything bad to say. It's a fast read, even though it's 600 pages. I don't know if I'll read 300 pages again today, who knows? But yeah, I know a lot of you guys have recommended this book to me and I knew it was gonna be good, but I feel like I've just been reading and watching like so much World War II stuff lately that I was like, maybe I'll take a break from World War II, but I finally picked this up and you guys were right. I should always trust your recs because you guys tend to be right about things. I cannot wait to like continue reading and see where it takes us. So far, so good.
The Look out, here she comes. The woman that I love. It's too bad she'll never know. Yeah, I can't tell her how I feel, because she has someone who makes her happy. I'm a ghost in these walls.
Okay guys, I just finished The Nightingale. Overall, such a good book. Like, if you have not read this book, I highly recommend it. Kristin Hannah's writing is so good. The stories she tells are also just like so important, because she really focuses on female stories, like the stories of women in war. And I feel like, I don't know, like most of the time when we like watch a movie that's like about a war, or like read a book that's about a war, usually it focuses on like the soldiers, right? Like the men who are in the war, and like it makes sense. Like there were so many men in war who were like enlisted and all this stuff, but Kristin focuses on the female stories during the war, because females did exist during those times too. And they also did play a very important role. I gave this book a 4.75. It was so close to being a 5-star. It really wanted to be, but I had like very, very small issues with the book. I think in terms of the pacing, it was like a little bit weird for me. The first thing was around the middle of the book, we start focusing on one sister a lot more than the other one, because I guess that sister's story just like gets a little bit more interesting and exciting at that point of the book. And later in the book, we like kind of drop that sister and then focus on the other one again a lot more. So I found that like during those parts, I was always like missing the other sister, like the one we weren't spending a lot of time with. I was like missing them, and I wanted to like catch up with their story and see how they were doing. I mean, I kind of get the reason why Kristin did that, like in terms of how she told the story, the order of events, it made sense, but I just kind of feel like I wish the distribution between chapters that we were spending with each sister were more even throughout the book. So it was like one like little thing that I had kind of like a little bit of an issue with. And then at the end of the book, so good. I really liked the way things ended. I thought it was really beautiful in terms of like the story and like where we ended up at the end. But I think the way we ended the book, like when I finish a book, I want to get to the acknowledgements page and I want to be like, you know, like I want to be eased into the ending and then like have a smooth transition back to real life. But I feel like this book just, it ended so abruptly. It was just like, okay, it's done. That's the story. Here are the acknowledgements. Like it just felt like kind of a rough ending to me. And I really did love this book. So good. One of my favorite reads of the year so far, but it just like, it had enough little things that I was like, this is maybe not a 5-star. This was like so close, but I really loved it. So yeah, highly recommend The Nightingale. We are going to choose our next read, which means we are continuing the scavenger hunt. Let me get my little scavenger hunt list back up. Last time I did 4 prompts to find my book. I think this time I'm gonna do 3 prompts, and then the book we end up with after that 3rd prompt is the book we will read. So we're starting on prompt number 5, and that is go to page 34, line 6. Ooh, okay, this is interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many words are in that line? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we have to divide that number by 3. That's not gonna work. So the amount of words in the title of your next book should be that number. So 3.66667, I'm gonna round up to 4. I have a bunch of 4-word title books actually. These are the first 2 that I saw because they were like on the top shelf. I'm gonna say Throne of the Fallen. Let's go with Throne of the Fallen. Okay, next. What object did you first see on the cover? Find another book with the same object on the cover. A key. There's like a giant key on here. Oh, this is gonna be hard. I don't know if I'm gonna have another book that has a key. Any keys? Jewelry. We have jewelry, but not a key. There's like a little chest thing on this book, and I thought it was a key, but it's not a key. That's like, it's like a rune or some sort of a marking, but like where my finger is there, that kind of looks like a key. No? Okay, there are so many things on this, but there is no key. We're gonna go with a Fate inked in blood because I couldn't find a key, and I feel like this, here, I'll hold it closer for you. Like that, you're telling me that's not a key? Like this thing right here. It looks like a key, and it could be like, maybe that key means it's like a symbol to like opening some sort of a door. So I'm gonna say That's a key. Okay, so we're on A Fate Inked in Blood. And then the next prompt, this is what's gonna choose our book. Find a book with the same amount of pages. These prompts are impossible, you guys, I swear. So I'm gonna have to look through all my books to find something that's the same number of pages. Oh gosh. Okay, I have found 3 books or 2 other books that are very similar in size. They look very similar in terms of like width and height. And then for thickness, let's see which one's closer. It's pretty dang close. That's really close too. You know what? I'm gonna go with The Familiar. I'm taking the scavenger hunt into my own hands. I just really want to read this book. Number 1. And also, like, if you look at the sizes of these books, almost identical. Did I just like cheat? Did I just like rig the scavenger hunt? But hey, in the end, I'm choosing the book that I want to read, and it also kind of goes along with the scavenger hunt prompts that I was doing. To be completely honest, I forget what this book is about. I just really want to read it because I love Leigh Bardugo so much, and this book is like stunning. It also just came out. It's like a new release, so I just get so excited about new releases. But I think this is some sort of a like period piece, like maybe it's some sort of a historical. Yes, it is set during the Spanish Golden Age. It is set in Madrid, and I think we have like witchy type things going on, maybe like kind of like witchy alchemy type of magic. I'm gonna go into this a little bit blind, I think. I just want to feel the feels and vibe the vibes. I feel like Leigh Bardugo really draws you in that way. So yeah, we're just gonna like feel the vibes with this book, and we're gonna go in a little bit blind, and we're gonna start The Familiar today. All right, time for a little update. It's been a few days. I have been very busy. I had a really busy work week last week actually, and then on the weekend I had a wedding, I went to a musical, like there was just a lot going on. So I didn't have too much time to read this weekend, but I still managed to get roughly halfway through The Familiar. So this is a historical fantasy. It is set in the Spanish Golden Age, as I mentioned before, and our main character is a scullion, like a maid or servant, and she works for this family that's like, they're not poor, but they're kind of like on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of the social hierarchy. That is where we are. That's where our little maid is. Her name is Luzia. Luzia has like these secret little powers, these little tricks that she does. She's not even really sure what she is or like what she's able to do, but she has this kind of a magic, I guess. She like hears these songs in her head and she doesn't know where they come from. She doesn't really even know what language they are, I don't think. But when she sings these songs, she's able to like do these little tricks, like these little spells. She, for the most part, keeps this on the down low. She doesn't really share this with anyone, but she uses her little tricks to like just get her through the day. You know what I mean? Like if she burns bread, she'll use a little spell to fix it so it's not burnt anymore. She'll use her spells to like help her clean up quicker and stuff like that, just to like get through her job. But she doesn't really do anything bigger than that, and she like really tries hard to like not get caught, because in this political world, like we're in the Spanish Golden Age, like we don't like witchy type things, right? So she tries to like stay on the down low, keep up the appearance of being a good Christian. So that's our main character. But one day her mistress discovers her powers. Like she kind of catches her in the act, and she's like, no, you're not keeping this a secret. We are going to use your powers to help me bump myself up on the social ladder, because I'm on the bottom. I don't like being on the bottom of the social ladder anymore. So you're gonna help me get up. So yeah, she starts using her to do these tricks and like bump her up in the social ladder. But then Luzia starts getting too much attention, like more attention than her mistress had intended. And she ends up getting this like noble man's attention. I don't know exactly what he is. He's some sort of like high up nobleman. He like has an in with the king, and this guy notices Luzia. So he has his own like use of her that he wants to do with her. So he kind of takes her under his wing, and then we go off on this whole thing. We have tournaments, we have trials, we have all that. And it's so funny because when I got into this book, I was not expecting like the tournament trial format of a fantasy book, because I know that's like a very common format of a fantasy. We love that in fantasy, right? We see it a lot, but I have not read that type of fantasy by Leigh Bardugo, and I wasn't expecting it in this because I feel like usually when we get like historical witch fantasies, we usually don't get like tournament trial style stories. We usually get more like secret family, like personal issue type stories. So yeah, I was not expecting that with this book at all, but it's fun. It's taking me on a ride. I feel like the vibes are really good in this one. I will say, and I don't know, this is probably just a me thing, but I am having such a hard time remembering the characters' names, like keeping track of who's who. I don't know, like it could just be me. I feel like I haven't really read a lot of books set in Spain, so maybe it's just like, maybe I'm bad at remembering Spanish names. I don't know. It could very well be a personal thing, but there's just something not clicking in my brain in terms of like connecting characters to their names. And sometimes it is because of a language thing, but sometimes it's because their names don't fit their personalities. But yeah, I don't know which one is the case here. But anyways, I am really enjoying this so far. I'm gonna keep reading it. I also wanted to point out, so I got a copy of this book with sprayed edges, which like I had no idea, and I was so happy about. I love the look of sprayed edges. I also really like the experience usually because, I don't know, the aesthetic of the book really impacts my experience when reading. But these sprayed edges, when I first opened this book, like all the pages were still stuck together. Like all of them. Like it was just like a chunk of pages like this. Whoever printed these like forgot to do that last step in the spraying process where they like separate the pages again after being like sprayed and stuck together. They're all stuck together, so I kind of had to do like a little like crackling of them, but still, like even while I'm reading, I'll be trying to flip a page and I'll have like pages like this. See, like this one's like kind of stuck at the top, and I'll just have to like unstick them like one by one. So that's been kind of interesting. See, did you hear that? Look. Look how stuck these pages are. I'm just having to like split them as I go, which isn't the biggest deal, but I feel like it's slowing me down a little bit because it takes me like an extra 10 seconds to flip a page. But that's The Familiar. I'm gonna keep reading it and then, yeah, I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Say something that will make my day, 'cause these memories of her won't go away.
We have finished The Familiar. Okay, I feel like I need to turn on a light. It's a little dark right now. I don't know what to rate it right now. I feel like my mind is a little bit confused. I liked a lot of aspects of it, but I feel like I couldn't really get into it, if that makes sense. I couldn't really get into the story, but I really liked the mood and the vibe and the atmosphere and the writing. Like the writing was really good. I think right now my brain, like my mind is sitting at like a 3.75 for this book, which is a good rating. Like that's pretty good. It just, I feel like I had higher expectations, like this being a Leigh Bardugo book and like the premise sounding so cool. I don't know, I had really high expectations for this. I thought this would be at least a 4-star, and it just like, I feel like it was like slightly under a 4-star for me. But it was still good, you know what I mean? Like the writing was amazing in this book. I actually really liked the way Leigh wrote this book. And then yeah, like the whole Spanish Golden Age setting was really cool to read in. I really liked some of the characters in here, and overall I liked the story. But I don't know, there was just maybe something weird about the pacing. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have to sit with this one a bit because I'm really torn because there's so many things I liked about it, but there was just something blocking me from like fully enjoying this book. But I would still recommend it. I think it's still a really good read, especially if you're into like demon-y type stuff. I feel like Leigh's been really good at writing that like demon type fantasy. Like this and her 9th House series are both like kind of demon devil based, and I really like her like dark style of writing like that. I actually prefer it over like 6 of Crows or like the Shadow and Bone series, like the Grishaverse, which she is I think the most well known for. I think she wrote those very well, but I really think she does demons and devils so well. So I love this like devil phase that she's in. But those are my thoughts on The Familiar. We're going to pick our last book in this scavenger hunt video. I think, how many prompts do I have left? I did 5, 6, and 7 last time, and I have 3 prompts left. So let's do the 3 remaining prompts. We'll do prompts 8, 9, and 10, and that will find our last read for this video. Okay, find a book with a title that has the same amount of letters as the last book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 letters, so I have to find a book with the same amount of letters in the title. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Too many. This is definitely too many. That's too many for sure. This is a pretty short title, actually. Oh, I found one with 12. I found one, okay. Devil is Fine by John Vircher. I think it's a historical lit fic. This is actually an ARC I received. Over to the next prompt. Flip to any page in the book and point to a random word. The next book should have that word in the title. Oh my god, I hope I hope I get something like the or like and. Okay, flip to a page. Chase? I pointed to Chase. Why did I point to such a specific word? We have no chases. I'm gonna have to try again. Flip to a random page, point. Undertow? I need to make this easier for myself. Come on, Jamie. Co-conspirator. Racial? No, I don't have racial. Why can't I just point to like the? Breathe? Grandmother, no. In. Okay, I pointed to in. Definitely can find something with in, right? I did it. It only took like 7 attempts, but a study in drowning definitely has the word in. So we have one last prompt. This is gonna choose our next read. Find something that sticks out from the cover. Find a book that has that in either the title or on the cover. The first thing I noticed was like these pages flying. So maybe something to do with like pages or paper or text, I don't know. Oh, you know what? Kind of perfect. Okay, so that was easier than I thought it was gonna be. So the thing that stood out to me from this cover was these like papers flying that could have been texts, pages, a book. So I have this book on my TBR called How to End a Love Story. And I feel like story kind of goes with like book or pages, right? Oh, and there's also even a book on the cover page. There's 2 books. I finally managed to do actually some scavenger hunt prompts somewhat correctly. So I'm proud of myself for that. This is gonna be our next read, which is, I think, a good thing. I think I've read a lot of like heavier, darker themed fantasy type books lately, and I feel like I just need something light right now. I feel like this is gonna be perfect. This is by Yulin Kuang. We're gonna read this. It's definitely more contemporary romance rom-com-y, and I think that's exactly what we need right now to just like lift our spirits back up a little bit after reading. What did we read earlier this week? We read The Nightingale by Kristin, which is like obviously a very tough story to read. It's a historical story set in World War II. It's just like tough, you know? We just read about devils, and now we're just gonna read a nice, happy, fun, fluffy love story, hopefully. We're gonna go with this.
Close your eyes. Get some rest. I'm by your side. Lay your head.
Hey guys, don't mind my hair today. It's hair wash day, okay? I need to wash this today, but it's looking a little rough. I wanted to talk to you guys about my first initial thoughts on How to End a Love Story. Definitely interesting to read. Okay, so first of all, our main characters. Our female main character is an author to like a best-selling book series that's being adapted into a TV show, and then our male main character is a screenwriter. So he's been hired in like the group to help adapt her book into a screenplay for the television series. But the 2 main characters have also been kind of connected in the past. They went to high school together. They're both kind of without spoiling things too much, they were both involved in the same like tragic accident that happened while they were both in high school. So they're kind of connected through that, but like not really. Like they've never really liked each other. Since this tragic accident happened when they were younger, they've kind of been like enemies. So yeah, they're just like forced to like see each other again and like work together on this screenplay. So that's our plot. I think it's interesting that this is the plot because like as we know, Yulin Kuang is screenwriting and adapting Emily Henry's books to movies. So she definitely knows a lot about like what goes on in these writers' rooms and stuff like that. So I think that's really interesting to get an insight into what that world is kind of like because I had no idea. One thing I like about this book is that this is a true enemies to lovers story. And I always say like in contemporary romance, like does enemies to lovers really actually exist? I feel like a lot of contemporary romance that is marketed as enemies to lovers is just kind of general dislike to lovers. In these real world situations, it's hard to like make a scenario where two people are actually enemies. And because of the incidents that occurs at the beginning of this book, I actually believe that this is a true enemies to lovers story. And so that's working for me. There are a couple things that I'm like iffy about. The tragic accident that happens at the beginning of this book, that's like a big thing. That's like one of the main plot points and issues that is an ongoing thing throughout the story. It's a very tragic thing that happens and it was written in such a light-hearted kind of a way. Like it was kind of glazed over that it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like I didn't really like how light-hearted and like jokingly that part of the story was told. It was kind of weird for me. So it was kind of weird for me to get into this book because that is the literal first thing that happens. But I think after that point, the story is like starting to get a little bit cute. Like there's definitely cute moments, but I can't get over like the main incident and the main problem that I think needs to be addressed. And I hope it gets addressed through this book. I think it will. There's also another thing, like I feel like the writing style is kind of interesting. I can definitely tell that Yulin Kuang is a screenwriter because she like puts every detail into her writing. It feels like a screenplay, which is to put in like all the intentions and stuff like that. There's this thing that she does where like we get insights into our character's head through like italicized text, and that is like a writing convention that is used a lot by authors, especially contemporary romance authors, but it's used like so much, and a lot of the time it's just like our characters thinking back to something that another character just said like 2 seconds ago. So like we'll get the quote of like that character saying the line, and then 2 lines later we'll get an italicized quote of the same thing but like in our character's heads. So I don't know, it's just the writing style is a little funny and I don't know if I like it, but yeah, I'm just so curious to see where the story takes us. We're gonna keep going. I finished it. So funny. I feel like this is another book where I'm kind of like torn with my rating. I loved parts of it and then I not really disliked, but I disliked quite a few parts of it as well. Overall, I think I'm gonna rate this a 3.5. All of my thoughts that I mentioned yesterday still stand, but just to give you a little bit more of my thoughts after finishing this book today. First of all, I love like the Chinese themes in here. So Yulin Kuang is a Chinese author, obviously, so she's writing about a Chinese main character who obviously like grew up with Chinese parents and in a Chinese family, but in America. And I feel like myself, just being a Chinese-born Canadian, a Canadian-born Chinese, I feel like there were a lot of things that I could relate to in here in terms of like the family dynamic, in terms of like how she was brought up and a lot of that stuff. I found that really, really interesting to read. I liked that aspect of it a lot. I think my biggest problem with this book, honestly, is how the romance developed. So in this relationship through the book, I feel like we got a lot of physical connection first. A lot of the romance was physical for most of the book, and then we only really got emotional at the end of the book. Probably in like the last quarter of the book is when we really started getting that emotional development and like just getting into like the nitty-gritty of feelings and healing and all that. And I feel like when it started, it was so good. I actually really, really liked the way this story turned out. For something that has a premise like this, which I feel like is a really hard story to tell, like a really hard story to like make believable and come to fruition, I feel like the direction this went written was really good, but I think the fact that the relationship was very physical first and then emotional second was not my favorite. So mixed feelings in terms of the romance here. Honestly, I was thinking of giving this a 2.75 throughout most of the book, but it was one of those like trust the process kind of reads where like at the very end I was like, okay, I'm getting into it now. Like the second we started getting into the feeling, I was like, okay, I'm in it. Those are my thoughts on How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kuang. I'm gonna end this video here because first of all, this video is really long by now. It's like over 30 minutes and I try and keep my videos under 30 minutes because then it just turns into a movie, you know? But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this little scavenger hunt. Again, if you guys want to try it, I will link the specific scavenger hunt that I found just on Storygraph. I'll put the link in the description box below so you guys can reference it and do your own little scavenger hunt if you want. If you want to see more scavenger hunt reading weeks from me, please definitely let me know in the comments so I know that you like this type of video and I will do it again if you did enjoy it. If you did like this video, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know out of the 3 books I read this week, which you would be the most inclined to read, or if you have read them, which one's your favorite. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!